Well, we now know who will represent the Eastern Conference in terms of this year's MLS Cup, and that team is the Columbus Crew. And I did say that this was a matchup where I expect it's going to be a low scoring kind of game, and that one goal is going to be enough for one of these teams is to move on into MLS Cup. And in the end, it's the Crew that got that goal in the 59th minute, and that's all they need in terms of moving on to MLS Cup and hosting MLS Cup this season as they wait for the winner of the Minnesota versus Seattle match that is going to be happening on Monday. And that overall, when you look at this game, I think the Crew definitely deserved this victory because despite the fact that this was kind of one of those typical conference final match where both teams had their moments of scoring the goal, I thought the Crew had more of the chances in this game, and that for New England, yeah, their biggest starters in this game, the likes of Gustavo Bo and Carlos Gil, they did not show up in this one. Now, before we talk about what happened in this game, first of all, there was no changes for the Revs coming into this game, and that Eloy Rome once again was not available in this one because he, of course, was tested positive for COVID-19. And in fact, I also looked into the lineup and saw that most of those players, if not all those players that was tested positive of COVID-19 just 2 weeks ago after the Crew had a bit of an outbreak, they weren't available in this one. But I've also heard that he most likely is going to be available for MLS Cup. So at least if you're a Crew fan, you're going to be very happy the fact that you're going to get most of the players back. Albeit, let's just hope they don't have to go through another COVID outbreak as they did just 2 weeks ago. Now, in the first half, I thought Columbus started brightly in this game, and that Matt Turner had to make an early save on Diaz from the far post. Then Zardes missed wide for about 13 yards out in the 13th minute, and I really thought that New England was really having a tough time trying to play out of the Columbus press. I mean, Columbus were by far the better team in the first 15 minutes. They did a good job in terms of suffocating New England and really pinning them back because of the fact that the refs just cannot play out the press and cannot get any possession in Columbus half. But eventually they did start to kind of figure it out, which kind of make things a little bit even, and that, there was kind of a spell of period where I thought both teams really struggled to find a good final ball. But as soon as I also wrote that, just 1 minute later, Buxa actually hits the post after going through on goal in the 27th minute. Then Turner made a couple of big saves, first robbing Zalarian from close range in the 35th minute, and then denying Santos in the 38th minute, and Columbus was really knocking on the door. And New England, I thought they were once again struggling, this time leaving just way too much space in the middle of the park. I mean, the fact that Columbus had so much space and that the likes of Zalarian got so much space to operate in the middle, this was definitely concerning if you are a New England fan. But fortunately, they were able to head to halftime 0-0 because of the fact that Turner made a couple of decent saves. I thought both goalkeepers had a very decent game, especially Matt Turner, who really kept this team in this game the as long as possible, because if it wasn't for some of those big saves that he made, I think Columbus could have easily won this more than the 1-0 victory that they got in this one against New England. Now, heading into the second half, again, not much clear-cut chances early in this game, but it seemed like the theme of this playoffs is that as soon as I write something negative on the board, there's probably going to be action that is going to happen, because just 1 minute after I wrote this, Tarbell was able to deny Buxa in the 56th minute before Turner making another incredible save, this time robbing Zardes, who had a point-blank range effort for about 10 yards out. But unfortunately, the very next play, he was unable to deny Artur, who basically hits this one perfectly first time for Mensah and Zarian to give the Crew a 1-0 lead and finally give Columbus the breakthrough that they deserve. And they almost made it 2-0 just 2 minutes later when Zarian actually rattled the post, or rattled the shot off the post after a rocket from about 25 yards out. If that went in, that would have been definitely in contention for one of the best, if not the best goal we have seen so far this postseason. Then just 6 minutes later, Santos just missed wide, and I thought New England was really chasing shadows, and that, they got to eventually regroup themselves, because if they find themselves going down 2-0 in this game, I think this one is pretty much over. Now, eventually New England did kind of settle themselves down, and that they decided to push for the equalizer. But unfortunately, one of the biggest problem for the refs this season, and this is something that we haven't seen in the playoffs because for once they've been very consistent in terms of so looking very well in the final third and creating chances from a good final ball that they play. But in this game, that was just not the case. And they just kind of go back to that old New England team and kind of going back to that home form type of New England team where every time when they try to create something in the final third, they just cannot find that good final ball to create those chances. And that I thought Columbus was just happy to kind of sit deep and try to counter to get the second goal. And they weren't really tested in terms of the defense, or Tarbell really tested a lot with New England, not really creating a lot of clear-cut chances, despite the fact that you can clearly see that they were desperate in terms of getting the equalizer. Although in the first minute of stoppage time, they finally did create the big chance. And talk about Gustavo Bo and Carlos Hill. I thought Carlos Hill, he kind of had an okay game. There was a couple of times he was able to create some good chances for his team, but Gustavo Bo really dropped the ball in this game, and that the biggest chance I think for him, and really the only time I think I'm going to mention his name, is the fact that he had a big chance in the first minute of stoppage time after Carlos Hill able to play a good ball to him, but unfortunately he couldn't get any power into the shot, and it goes straight into Tarbell's hand, and he was able to deny him from close range. But other than that, that was the best chance that Gustavo Bo had throughout the whole game, and that was really the final chance that New England would have, because despite the fact that they had a free kick late in the game, and that Tarbell, he kind of got away with the fact that he basically came out and didn't really clear the ball, punched it very well, and it goes to Matt Polster. Polster couldn't quite lift that one over everybody's heads and potentially redirect back to a goal, and it just goes straight into Tarbell's hand. And as soon as that ball hits back to Tarbell, the final whistle was blown, and Columbus was moving on to MLS Cup. And the shots in this game, 16 shots compared to 10 that New England has, 7 shots on goal compared to 4 that New England has, 6 shots off target compared to 3 that New England has. Both teams had 3 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 47% possession compared to 53% possession that New England has in this game. And that, again, overall, I think Columbus deserved to win this game, mainly because they really shut down that potent New England attack and didn't really allow the refs a lot of chances going forward, and that they also had a couple of decent chances of their own, and fortunate that they were the one that able to finish one of those chances. But if you're the refs, this is definitely a disappointing game, especially how good they've been throughout this playoffs on the attack. They just unfortunately weren't up for it in this game, and the biggest player that they really depend on just kind of didn't show up in this game. But that being said, I think if you are also a refs fan, I don't think there should be a lot of disappointment about how this season has been. I mean, I think New England has really exceeded expectation this season. And remember how I said that I think there's still definitely room for improvement, and that there's definitely still time for this team to continue to build and toward themselves to be an MLS Cup contender. Well, if they can continue to add some more quality players in this team, I think this team can definitely be back into the conference final, and that in many ways this was really ahead of schedule in terms of how deep that they made in terms of the cup run this season, and that they should be proud of what they of course have done throughout this playoffs. But unfortunately they fell short of making their 6th MLS Cup appearance, and for Columbus, they get to not only play in MLS Cup, but they also get to host MLS Cup, as that they are pretty much the team coming into the conference final as the top priority, or earns the top spot in terms of the rankings of who, of course, is able to host MLS Cup. And I also heard that, look like their new stadium is going to be ready to open next season. So the very last game for Columbus at MAPFRE Stadium might be in MLS Cup. And what a way that would be for a team to end their stay at certainly one of the most legendary MLS stadium, and certainly a stadium that has always known for history of being the first ever soccer specific stadium, and really kind of the stepping stone of how all these MLS soccer specific stadium are built right now around the league. That would be definitely a great send off. They are able to win MLS Cup in the very next game to pretty much close out their final ever game at Montpree Stadium, and certainly the final soccer game of this legendary venue in this league. But we shall see if they can do that in that game against MLS Cup. And now all they have to do is kind of sit back and watch that Minnesota versus Seattle game and see who exactly they are going to be facing in MLS Cup, as we're going to find out who's going to be representing the Western Conference coming out of MLS Cup. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of this game. And yeah, I hope to see you guys next time. And I'll see you guys tomorrow to do the review and find out who is going to be representing the Western Conference in the MLS Cup. And tomorrow we will know what is going to be the matchup of MLS Cup this season.